Hi, Film Addicts. Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we have a special guest, Timothy Talbott, owner of Double T Studios, and he is a producer known for The Demon Inside, Trunkfish, This War, and Tardy Terror. Welcome to the show, Timothy.
Thanks for having me, Marilyn. I love the show. I'm an addict now. I listen to you all the time. It's great.
I'm so glad you like the show, and we're happy to have you. Timothy, I wanted to know, like, growing up, did you have a favorite film or two?
Yes, I mean, when you're somebody like a producer or an actor, you have more than one favorite. So it's always one of those hard questions. So each point in your life, you have a different favorite. So as I grew up in the '80s, I loved movies like Back to the Future and Weird Science and Trading Places, and The Heavenly Kid and Rad, and of course The Goonies. I also like movies like The Rocky, or a con movie like The Sting, and then horror movies like Jaws. But I would have to say, as a kid, one of my all-time favorites was from director John Carpenter, and it's Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, yeah. What did you like about Big Trouble in Little China?
The thing about Big Trouble in Little China is it starts off with an everyday, like, you could call him the average American or an everyman, and it starts with Kurt Russell, who is just phenomenal, and I'm just a huge fan of Kurt Russell. But you got this guy who's a truck driver. He's going to see his friend in San Francisco. They're going to gamble a little bit, have a few beers. He's going to be there. He's going to meet his friend's fiance, and when that goes awry, these guys kidnap the fiance and steal Jack's truck, because Kurt Russell's name is Jack in the movie. So Kurt, all he wants to do is, his ego's hurt. He's a macho man, so all he wants to do is get his truck back and make these guys pay. And the funny thing about it is this whole time, this guy believes he's the hero, and really, he's the sidekick to the movie, because Wang is the one that has all the martial arts. And, in the '80s, martial arts were huge, so it was just a great movie with mysticism and, magic and martial arts. So it was just a great fun movie for a kid.
And it had a special meaning to you because, like, he was a truck driver too, and so you were saying you could relate to it that way, right?
Yeah, he was a truck driver. So, like I said, an everyman. And at the time, my uncle was a truck driver, and my dad had been a truck driver. So it's like, he wasn't a superhero. He was just a dude driving a truck. That's how he earned a living.
Yeah, and that's such a cool movie as a kid going, yeah, my dad owns a truck, and yeah, and you can just relate to that. It's such a fun movie, and you're like, oh my gosh, Kim Cattrall's in there, and you're like, and it with all the martial arts, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is the best movie ever. Yeah. And then of course, when we get to more serious states and watching more movies that are intellectual and poetic and masterpieces of cinema, do you have a favorite Criterion movie?
Yes, one of my favorites. One of my favorites is 12 Angry Men. And I saw that movie when I was in high school. My economics teacher was getting us ready for a mock trial. A mock trial, which I don't understand why we were doing that in economics, but that's what we were doing. And he was like, "You ever seen this movie?" And I was like, "No." And I don't watch black and white movies, which wasn't the case. I'd seen many black and white movies. But we saw this movie, and he showed us this movie, and I just loved it. You just have 12 guys, and they're jurors. What's end up being is they're jurors, and they're debating whether or not to send this kid to prison for life. And, it starts out with 11 guys. He's guilty no matter what. And one guy, Henry Fonda, saying, "I think he's not guilty. Let's discuss it." And they go through the whole movie, and he just debunks, all the evidence until eventually the outcome changed. And it's one room, 12 actors, just talking about this one case. And there's so much emotion and so much things going on. So yeah, 12 Angry Men is always a popular one. I couldn't even watch the remake. I was like, no, I can't watch it.
Yeah.
Nope, not happening.
Yeah, there's some movies that just, it's as film addicts, we're like, don't remake that. Leave it alone. Please write original scripts. You don't have to remake everything because that's why they're classics and they're untouchable. And yeah. And one of your favorite directors and favorite film shots.
Well, I guess my favorite film shot is the long shot. Quentin Tarantino does this a lot, and it's just one long continuous shot, and it's usually like you know like a 5-minute shot or something like that. And 5 minutes in a 90-minute movie is like a whole 3 days of shooting or something. Like it's everything has to happen on clockwork for the shot to work. If something messes up, you got to start all over. So when I see something like that, I just know how much work goes into that, and it's just so impressive to pull it off. Quentin Tarantino does it in Kill Bill. They do it in the movie Snake Eyes. It's just one of those movies, or just one of those shots that are great. Even the movie Birdman. The movie Birdman in like I think it's 1914. Is that what the movie came out last year? 1914, 1915, something like that, where World War I, it's just one long continuous shot. It's really just amazing. So as far as directors go, I mean, again, different points in my life, different maturity levels mean different directors. Some of my all-time favorites are Quentin Tarantino, of course. John Carpenter, again, love him. Steven Spielberg has his thing. He's great. Obviously John Hughes was a great director in the 80s. He just knew how to do teen movies so well. Weird Science, Ferris Bueller, Pretty in Pink. Spielberg, Jaws, E.T., Jurassic Park. I mean, Jurassic Park's an all-time favorite of mine. And those are older movies. They all have newer movies, Minority Report and things like that. And then movies like The Godfather with Francis Ford Coppola. It's just an epic movie, and just such a different style of movie making. Jon Favreau today is one of my favorites today. Quentin Tarantino, of course, I've already said him. So, I'll pretty much watch anything and Taika Waititi. I think that's how you say it, Taika Waititi. He did Thor Ragnarok, and he's done some Star Wars stuff. So that guy's doing something I'm watching. I love everything he does, even from What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, and I heard can you tell us a story about what role you would have loved to done?
Yeah, Captain America. Captain America would have been the role. I mean, Captain America and Venom, they're both, obviously those are both superheroes, anti-heroes, villains in the movies. But Captain America, I really tried to do. When they first was casting for First Avenger Captain America, I tried to find out where the director lived and send him a headshot. I found out where Stan Lee lived, and I sent him a comic book cover with my face on it. I started working out with Lou Ferrigno, the Incredible Hulk from the TV show, which was one of my favorite TV shows growing up. I even snuck onto the Marvel lot, and I was even going to try to sneak in and crash the audition, except the tour guide had told us that people had lost their jobs. And I was like, well, I can't let anybody lose my job because I'm messing around. So, yeah, Captain America would have been one. Because I was ready. I was like, I'll sign up for 10 pictures, 20 pictures. It don't matter to me.
Oh my gosh, that you actually made a comic book with your face on and you actually sent it to Stanley. That's incredible. You're like, might start calling you Stalker. So, Stalker or super fan. But that's so cute, like really cute. Like, because, I mean, we all want to do great films, but sometimes we have to wait for our turn. So, I wanted to know your favorite line from a movie.
Oh, favorite line from a movie.
Because I know you do a lot of them.
There's so many.
Yeah, I want a couple from you. I know you do a lot of the lines from the movies.
Yeah, I quote a lot of movie lines every day, just in different things. I guess my current favorite one is "Hooper drives the boat, Chief," and that's from Jaws. I don't even really know what it means when I use it on a daily basis, but I just Hooper drives the boat, Chief. And of course, there's been times in my life where I quote what everybody else quotes. And, and those are lines from The Big Lebowski. It's such a quotable movie. Or, lines from Back to the Future and things like that. But I've always, for a while, I was saying, that's a spicy meatball. And then I was watching The Mask with my girlfriend, and he did it, and she just started cracking up because I said it to her all the time. So it's just one of those things. And right now it's Hooper drives the boat, Chief.
I love that. I love that. So can you tell us a fun fact about you, which leads to how you started as an actor?
Well, fun fact is I am a professional, or I was a professional wrestler.
Nice.
Yeah, that's how I actually got started. The funny thing is I don't know when you realize acting is a job. It's not something I knew as a kid, like, oh, you could go out and do these things or whatever. And not even professional wrestling. It's just, these people came through the TV and they were doing something. So as I got older, I didn't know, it's not like I was like, I'm going to be an actor. To me, acting was stage plays. And I wasn't quite sure what they did on TV, but I'd seen some wrestlers in movies and I was like, I'm going to be a professional wrestler, and it's something I really wanted to do, and I'm going to be a professional wrestler, then I'll get into acting. That's how you do it. So I started out as a professional wrestler, and after about 5 years, I moved to California and tried not to be the out of work, unemployed, hungry actor, but the universe is what it is, and that's kind of makes you do it. It's like you're paying your dues. So I didn't get started. I got started right away in a film called The Last Bad Neighborhood because of my wrestling background. And then about 5 years went by before anything. And then I had to jump into acting. So I jumped into acting really hard and ended up getting like 2 really good things. I got a national commercial and I thought, well, now I'm on my way. And then it didn't really pan out the way that I wanted to. And if you remember them, it was the commercials with Wes Welker. Well, there was another one where we were in a locker room, and I hate to say it, but Wes Welker had a better career than the NFL player we were with in our locker room. So he that player ended up tearing his pec and being out of football. So they didn't show that commercial as much. And then I got into a play, and the play was about wrestling. And I thought, all right, I'm finally going to take off. All these casting directors are going to see me. I'm in great shape. I look good. My acting career is going to take off. And then it didn't happen again. So it's very depressing.
But this was an
those are
impressive play.
The challenges and disappointments.
Yeah, this play was at somewhere very special and very hard to get into. You got into the Geffen Playhouse. Now, usually there's just, there's a lot of celebrities that get those plays. So for you to get into a Geffen Playhouse play, that's very, very impressive, Timothy.
Yeah, it was the reason why I got in there is my acting coach had called me and said that he auditioned for this wrestling play. So the prep, he watched Monday Night Raw, and he didn't realize how theatrical everybody was, and he loved it. And so I said, "Where did you go?" And he said, "The Geffen." So I just went over to Geffen, knocked on the door, and said, "I'm here to audition." So they let me right in, and I walked in and crashed the audition and booked the role. So then I did this play at the Geffen Playhouse and met a couple of celebrities. I met a couple of wrestlers, met Betty White and Greg Kinnear and Mick Foley. And I thought my life was about to take off. It's finally, I'm breaking through. And it didn't really happen. And then those are some of the difficult challenges and disappointments of this business. It's just, I didn't realize how hard it was. I didn't realize that it was, I just thought it was going to be easier. I thought it might be hard, but I didn't realize how hard it was going to be. And you really have to develop a thick skin. And that's what I did. I just kept developing a thick skin. And I never thought I would do a play, but I kept pivoting and changing and pivoting and saying, okay, I'll do this now. And you knock out all those fears. And that's what you just have to do. You welcome change. You just have to welcome change. And after so long in LA, I decided that it was time for me to come back to Texas because I had all this training and I had a couple of big credits. And so I'd be a big fish in a small pond. Except when I got to Texas, there was nothing going on and I needed to pivot again. And I had a friend, I called him up to get a script and he sent me the script. And then I decided, well, I dabbled a little bit in producing. I didn't know much about it, but I'm going to try and raise money for a film and shot into producing at light speed. And been doing that for the last 5 years, putting the pieces together. A lot of people don't kind of think as producing and like money raising and things like that is not being very creative, but it's about as creative as writing the script, let me tell you. And after making some mistakes, I've been able to learn a lot, apply a lot, and it's gotten me in a position to possibly shoot 3 or 4 films that I'm really close to in 2021. So now I'm a full-time producer.
That's fantastic.
And I'll act. Yeah. I'll act when I can.
Yeah. And you were gonna tell me some funny story on the set.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I booked this commercial, right? This it's an Old Spice commercial.
Nice job.
Deodorant. NFL and Old Spice, right? And I'm thinking, this is huge. Old Spice. And I booked the commercial on the drive home from the commercial. My agent's all excited. Everybody's telling me it's this national commercial. On the day of, I go to set. I go to the fitting. I go to the set. And like my agent calls me, like, and I'm like walking into the door. Contracts are signed. I'm walking into the door and she's like, hey, make sure you get on camera. So I stopped immediately and go, what? I thought I was already booked. And she was like, yeah, but they might change your mind. They might change their mind. So make sure you get on camera. So I start sweating. Like I'm starting to like, how am I supposed to do this, right? Because we're football players in a locker room. So there's 50 of us. And I'm supposed to be actor number 1. And then there was 2 other guys, actor 2 and 3, right? And then the football player. Well, they had set the football player in front of me. So if you're watching, so all day I'm sitting there like leaning forward, making sure that I'm in his shot at every possible chance. And then of course, some of the guys found out that I guess I was actor number 1. So I got these guys leaning into my space to get on camera. And I'm sitting here, they're doing all these shots and I don't know what to do because there's no lines. I'm just sitting here saying, I'm just trying to get on camera. And of course, then finally, like, it's like my heart's pounding all day. And then the director's like, where's Timothy Talbott? And I said, oh, I'm right here. And they said, okay. And then they like light me and do everything. So then it was like I got my I was going to be on camera no matter what, like this is one of the things but I didn't know this. So for 6-7 hours in, I'm sitting there trying to figure out how to make sure I'm talking to the right people. I might be making all the mistakes in the world, be like, y'all are going to get me, right? Do I need makeup? So in the end, I was prominently. And when you see the commercial, you can see one shot they did how I was sitting on my chair. I was just on the very edge of my chair, just waiting. But yeah, it was a pretty weird and funny day. Of course, when everybody else knew who I was, they were all trying to get into my shot. So. Because that's a pay bump. That's a pay bump for them.
Yeah. Well, that is the world of trying to get in there for the love of film and being a film addict, whether you're an actor, writer, director, producer. Well, we're so excited to have you on the show, and you told our audience that how it's been COVID. I heard you've been making some good pizzas for your family during COVID. A way to keep busy. I love that. You've been baking.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of COVID, we didn't know what we were going to do. I mean, I had a day job like anybody else. And, you had to put, food on the table and pay your rent. And, after a few months, it was just kind of like, huh, let me see here. And I decided, I was like, I've learned a lot over the last 5 years, and I've saw some people. I've seen these people that like make one movie and then they write a book and then they do all these speaking tours about writing these books, and their movies, and I'll go and look at their movies and measure them up, and I'm like, well, I've done that. I've done that. I've done that. I like one guy had made a movie for $500, and he's talking about how he's a distributing, a distributing god. He knows everything you need to do. And I was like, you made a movie for $500. I made a movie for 100,000. Like I think I know a little bit of thing or two. So I decided to change my course. And oddly enough, I started building a film finance course, which will be going live next month. And I'm working out all the details to make it sure it's the correct details that you would need to know about film finance and how to get your film funding. Because I've interviewed all these filmmakers, and they always come back to film funding. So I want to teach people how to do that. But I've also been able to really focus in as where movie making or producing was kind of like this hobby that I only got to do 50% of my time, and I had to work 50% of my time. I've had more time this year, so I've been able to focus my producing, and in that work developed, I have about 7 films, but I have 4 that are developed and that can go right into production, and they are various stages of production. I got one that's red hot, that's ready to go, and, one right behind that, a couple of tweaks here and there, and we're ready to go. The third and fourth one, need a couple of actors to it, and they're ready to go. So, been just learning pitching and talking about raising money. And so that's how that's what I've been doing my time, really focusing on my craft, because, I want to do this full time.
Yeah, and you have some amazing projects that I've been privy to see, and they're really amazing. And so, congratulations on those. And we do hope those become we're able to shoot next year so that the world can see your beautiful films. And I want where can our audience catch up with you?
Well, right now, my social media is kind of low, but I don't do much of it. But I am on Facebook, Timothy Talbott or Double T Studios.
Okay.
I do have Instagram at Double T Studios 316. So I will be amping those up, of course, in the next year. It's just I didn't want to focus on social media and doing the course, so I'm doing the course right now, the course and film production, and then I'll get back to social media. But I will be, people will be able to find me. I will be able to be putting it out there. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. Double T Studios, Facebook. Well, Timothy, I want to say thank you for joining us today here on Film Addicts.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, and we want to wish all our listeners a very happy and healthy new year. Stay safe, and until next week, cheers, everyone.
Happy holidays.